Hey! This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself. I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, welcome back. It's another edition of JJ and Alex, 97.5 KSL Sports Zone. We are committed to being the radio version of what our parking garage looks like downstairs.
No,
Give me a full house.
what is it?
For a Friday, it was heavy. Yeah, there was at least 80% of the spots were there.
Feels like 2020 again in the building right now. Where is everybody?
What's Friday turned into?
What
You know
happened?
I'm going to do that on the radio. I'm going to go working from home. Hit me up if you need something. I'll just be at home.
I'm air quotes remote working today.
Hey, got that client lunch. Going to dip out for the next 17 hours here. But I'm available via text. Okay. See you later. National Donut Day, by the way, JJ. How's that going for you and I who are watching our figures?
I'm holding strong. No donut for me today. No donut. Don't even put one in front of my face.
Can I tell you something that I was, one, mortified by, but also kind of proud?
Okay.
My son brought home a bunch of Krispy Kreme donuts.
Children are very unsupportive of dieting parents.
They're in their own world. They're in their own world, and they do not. So my son shows up, and I'm like, uncharacteristic that he's generous and has. Well, one, I'm like, don't spend your money on donuts. So I was like, no, we had some extras and blah blah blah. I said, okay. He just started this new job. He's a lifeguard, and I was like, lifeguards with donuts? That doesn't make sense. Smash cut to me finding out a couple hours later it was because he and his friends went in the dumpster behind the freaking Krispy Kreme.
No.
They don't know boxes that they had thrown out. And look, here's the thing. I have no.
Did you eat one?
No. Good. No. Because here's the thing. They're rattling around in the box.
But they're that old?
I go, these aren't fresh. I can tell.
Krispy Kremes are not supposed to rattle inside the box.
And then he comes out. So he didn't tell me. My other son was like, hey, yeah, he got these out of the dumpster. And I was come on. I go, buddy, come on. And he's like, don't you know you have a family? You can always come back home, son. We're here for you. You can always come back home. But it's this weird thing that kids are like, dude, we found the donuts in the dumpster. I had a friend who told me to throw them out. This is what okay, but here's the thing. I have no leg to stand on when it comes to this, and I'll tell you why.
Paul Costanza?
I lived behind the Provo Bakery when I was...
Oh, no.
when I was in college. We made a standing appointment to watch out the window when the guy would throw the donuts away, and we would freaking go back in, and we were there, man. Don't you love college?
You dumpster dove for stale donuts.
Here's the best part.
The Provo Bakery.
If anybody knows what the Provo Bakery is, all right? These were lean times, all right?
Clearly.
Not really, though, because, I was eating awful, right? Here's the worst part. So the Provo Bakery is butted right up against not just the house I was living in, but also the one, like a Larkin mortuary's right there, too.
Yeah.
So we're, digging in the dumpster.
That's where the people go to eat those donuts.
No, people are looking, and they're looking at us, and we're like, sorry for your loss. I'll just take these. It was awful. Gosh. You're watching people, and they're watching you open. They're watching you open the dumpster, and you're like,
you're passing along condolences to strangers.
Grandpa,
you dumpster dive for
Grandpa
donuts.
would have wanted it this way.
Oh my God!
He wanted me to be resourceful. There's a story
better
for
than
you.
ramen, I guess.
There's a Donut Day story for you. It is National Donut Day. We're not going to respect it. But I couldn't say anything. I wasn't going to go, how dare you dive for donuts in the dumpster. They were in the packaging still, with the seal on them. You know, with the little...
Yeah.
But they were made and thrown out. Don't act like you guys are too good for dumpster donuts. Like when you're 16. You're fine with it. No? All right.
Just you.
Just me? I was 20-something.
I don't even know. I
Hadn't met
don't
my
even
wife
know
yet.
what I would do. I never had that opportunity.
No. We knew they were, because they were kind of, the Provo Bakery people were kind of like this. They're like, hey, here I go. And they knew, and they were like, basically, it was basically a handoff to us. All right.
Wow.
Welcome to the program on a Friday.
Yeah.
Hey,
Go get yourself a donut.
Now, have a little bit more self-respect. You know what you should do? Go grab a G2G bar. All right? There
Much
you go.
better.
Much better. No preservatives. Can't say the same about the donuts. No preservatives. They're fantastic for you. Their protein bar doesn't quit. They're a local company, and you will not have to rely on dumpster nutrition with a G2G bar. All natural ingredients, like I said. Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods. You get all of it, and you can get yourself right with the G2G bar in the refrigerated section. All right, let's kick the show off. We've got tons to jump into. If you did not hear, Ryan Smith, he's the owner of the Utah Jazz. He is the owner of the Utah National Hockey League team also. Am I getting those things right? Anything else? Real Salt Lake?
The Utah Yeti.
Utah Royals? Oh, the Yeti now? Hans has been pushing the Mammoth, and you know what? Oh, no, what was the tweet he had today? It was the Siberian unicorn. Did you see that one?
The Siberian unicorn.
Because there's an actual prehistoric animal that they found that was in the mammoth family that has a horn that is basically from here to the end of the building. Like, it is massive.
The Elasmotherium.
Yeah, don't smoke that. But then the Siberian
Whoa.
unicorn, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Too much to handle.
It
there.
is extinct.
It is extinct. But plus Siberian, not part of our world. Unicorn, I don't know if it'd work here. My daughter would love it.
Siberian unicorn.
Siberian unicorn, pretty dope.
Elasmotherium is what it's called.
Don't smoke it. Elasmotherium. Stay away from the Elasmotherium, kids. All right?
Essentially a woolly rhinoceros.
A woolly rhinoceros. Massive mammoth woolly rhinoceros. So there you go. Let's kick the show off as we always do with the cut. We'll jump right in here, and let's get into some of those conversations that they had with Ryan Smith. We've got so many things to unpack that he talked about. NHL, the finals, the Stanley Cup finals firing up. And so, yes, it's on top of our minds. Hockey, NBA basketball, all of it. Let's get to the cut right here.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
That is the most BYU story ever.
Free donuts, man. All right. Here's what we got. Again, like I said, you can go. I'm assuming it's probably up. The podcast probably up to hear the full interview with Ryan Smith. Let's play just a couple of the hits here. And we're also in the 5 o'clock hour going to play a broad chunk of it just to be able to make sure we get all of it in there because there was so much. There were so many things. I don't know if you know this about Ryan Smith. The guy could moonlight as a talk show host because he goes and he gives you answers that you weren't even asking for. And it's awesome.
He's fun to talk to.
That's what you want to get out of your owner. And by the way, what owner makes themselves that available? I'm going to put a caveat on this, who's not annoying. So Jerry Jones is out. All right. So just because Jerry Jones calls into the ticket every 5 seconds down
Ryan
to
Smith's
Dallas.
not making personnel decisions.
Can I just, he's like, hey, it's me. Can I get on? You know, that's Jerry Jones down to Dallas. Ryan Smith goes in and we just have questions, right? And so Hanson Scott did a phenomenal job asking those questions. And here's one of the things that was brought up because I want to talk first about the rebrand, okay? So we'll start NBA. I would say 75% of what he talked about was hockey, buying the hockey team, all those things. But I want to make sure we talk Jazz because we're 3 weeks away from the freaking draft, JJ. We got to figure some things out here. Here's what he said about the rebrand particularly and what Jazz basketball kind of looks like and the mountains, the purple, all those color things because he has a lot of input when it comes to this. It seems like. So take a listen.
Trying to find something that we authentically own in Utah. Mountain basketball is just it. It's what we are. There's beach basketball. If you go to LA, Miami, like we authentically can own mountain basketball. I think it's a box that we can color in for a long, long time. And we're excited about that.
You know what that is? That's a slide at Denver right there, isn't it?
There are no mountains.
No,
in
there
Denver.
are not in Denver.
There are mountains near Denver, but not in Denver.
We
live
a
in the
legitimate mountain NBA team. That's our brand. All right.
Get bent, Denver.
Or at least get some real elevation. The Mile High City. Flat as a freaking field. All right.
It's basically West Kansas.
Now, what about the purple? This is something that he's talked about. And this is something that, and I heard Jake and Ben talking about this too. I think they made a promo out of it even, where it's like, look, purple was something that nobody really liked, but now the hipsters are coming around. One of those hipsters is Ryan Smith, who owns the Utah Jazz, and purple is always going to be a part of what this team is.
The purple is something that's tricky, but, it's what a lot of people want. They know us as, and the purple in the mountains makes it better. I think the blue coming back also provides a lot of nostalgia for a lot of people in that D-Will Boozer era. So I thought the team did an incredibly good job at rolling that out and, kind of touched all the different pockets or genres of our fan base, because they aren't just one fan base. They're very different genres of folks when they think of the Jazz.
It's tough. You don't really want to describe your color schemes as tricky. But I think that what he's really talking about is that it might be tricky, but it's what we are. David Locke talked about it with us, right?
Yeah.
What did he say? Pale people don't look good in purple?
Yeah.
I think I probably fit that category, but guess what?
I think I look all right in lavender.
I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. I was a Husky fan.
All right.
And my high school was all purple and black. And so this is something I love.
I'm
gonna, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna start rolling out. I'm gonna start coming to work in my leather jacket. It's the only time I can wear purple and feel good about it.
Bring your donuts.
Bring the donuts. So it's interesting because the purple is like, it's a specific choice. We are making this choice. We're leaning into it. We thought about something else. We tried it, and there's no freaking way we're gonna do highlighter yellow. It's not gonna happen. Black and yellow. We're not doing it. It's not part of what this team is. And so I love that he leaned into it. I love that that's kind of part of what, look, it is tricky, but that's part of what this history is of this team. We're going to give a nod to the team. That's what this whole rebrand is about. It's about making sure that people still feel like there's a history part of this, but still looking pretty freaking cool.
I hated the rebrand, the last rebrand.
Yes.
It just was like, what is this? I didn't identify with it. It didn't look like the Jazz. It looked like it just wasn't good. And I've been publicly, people probably,
flogged.
People on that side of things with the Jazz organization probably didn't like my comments. But I'm going to say the complete opposite now. I love this rebrand.
Yeah.
The mountain basketball thing, the uniforms, the colors, it all looks really sharp. That black jersey is with the Jazz logo in front of the mountains is chef's kiss.
Plus, that's the Jordan jersey, too.
Yeah, I know.
I like it.
I know.
Man, that's good.
Unfortunately, they have to have a Jordan one. But if you're going to have a Jordan one, you better make it look darn cool and make us forget that there's a Jordan patch on it.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
See the difference? Like 20-year-old Jazz fan doesn't understand why that's a problem.
Remember when they tried that? They tried to roll that out last year.
What's the problem with Jordan brand?
They tried to
Jordan brand's awesome.
Remember they tried to roll that out in the team store last year? They had that shirt.
They had a Jumpman shirt in the team store. It's like,
Jumpman. It was huge Jumpman, and then it just said Utah Jazz.
Get that bleep out of here.
The Jazz were under him, and so it was everything felt wrong. Everything felt bad.
You don't understand those of us that are like 40 and up. Like we still wake up in the middle of the night. Terrorized by everything. He pushed off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that has never left. That's part of the history, though.
But that's what I
love about this rebrand is like your point is valid, and what he's saying is valid. Is there are some fans that grew up and loved that team in the '80s, a team with heart in 1984 that wore the Mardi Gras colors all the way into Karl Malone and John Stockton, and then there are people who fell in love with the Jazz during the finals years. And then there's the people that fell in love with Andre Kirilenko and Darren Williams and Carlos Boozer in that era of Jazz basketball where they were wearing the light blue. So they incorporated everything throughout the history, including the Note and the Mountains, and brought them together, and I think it's great.
So at the final part of the conversation about the basketball side of things, he brought up the draft that's coming up in 21 days, and he talked about where he is with the front office. And you and I were just talking about this with Lloyd, and it was almost like a little bit of a side joke, yeah, he wants to be a little bit more hands-off with the basketball side of things because he's got so many other things going on right now. But you know what? He has to have it that way. Here's what he said about the draft, and here's what he said about being a part of some of those decisions that the team's going to make.
You really don't bring Danny Ainge in and not let Danny Ainge do Danny Ainge things. So I'm involved in all of the details around the team, but when it comes to basketball personnel and how we do it, I mean, I have my desire. I'm a competitive guy. I want to win, and I want to win now and want to win always, and want to, have that goal for our franchise to be able to do something we haven't done, which is win a championship. It's really, really important to me, and I'm going to be doing this for 30 years.
Love it.
Thoughts?
Yeah. We made the jokes earlier about Jerry Jones being in the war room in the draft. Look, Larry Miller had too much input in personnel decisions. And I thought it hurt the Jazz. I think his input was obviously taken into more consideration than should have been, and they made personnel decisions that Larry wanted done, and they weren't the right moves.
How many babies does Ryan and Ashley Smith have right now? Where it's like, oh, no, that's my baby. Oh, RSL and the Royals, that's my baby.
Yeah.
Oh, new NHL team, that's my baby. Oh, the Jazz, that's my baby.
There's probably non-sports stuff that they're very involved in.
1,000%. And so, in the end, you can't be as spread thin as Ryan Smith is and make the types of decisions that need to be made at that level where Danny Ainge and Justin Zanuck are at. Let them. These are basketball administrative geniuses, so let them do their thing.
Ryan Smith builds companies. Ryan Smith creates a software company. He's in tech. That's his expertise.
Yes.
He doesn't understand basketball personnel. We all think we do, but do you really? Do you really understand what Justin Zanuck and Danny Ainge have had to do in their career to be good at what they do? They're the experts.
I'm sure he's learned a lot about it.
At the highest level.
Yeah.
You don't want Ryan, and Ryan Smith doesn't want Ryan Smith making player decisions and personnel decisions. He's got to sign off on stuff, yes. But you don't want Ryan Smith deciding who they draft. That's insane. It happens with the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones makes those decisions.
Yeah.
Think about that. So you absolutely respect that Ryan stays away from that stuff. He just builds companies. He makes these things happen. He takes care of the business transactions. He establishes the business relationships, and that's why he's been so successful, and that's why he now has this fairly large sports
portfolio. Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. He doesn't have to do all those things. That's what Danny Ainge is for. That's what Justin Zanuck does. Let those guys do their job. That's what I respect him so much, because he understands personnel and he understands how to do that. He doesn't have to be in control of everything. He hires the right people and he lets them make the right decisions. And then you're judged based on how you perform.
Let me roll something out here, because the exercise that they did, by the way, this wasn't like the questions that Hans and Scotty were asking, like I said, were phenomenal, because they dipped in and was like, hey, what's your relationship with BYU? We'll get into that a little bit later. What's your relationship with, kind of making these decisions on the hockey side of things, the rebrand on basketball, getting in the front office and all these different places? And then he was like, you guys, can I just pull this up while we're here? He brings up in front of him during the interview what October looks like in the actual, at the Delta Center, right? Here's what he said about that October and what that looks like for a busy downtown Salt Lake City, and he spoke specifically about that downtown Salt Lake part of it.
If we look at our October in the state of Utah, I'm not joking. I'm going to pull this up right now, because I think a lot of times you can say stuff and people understand it, but sometimes just visually seeing it, we're learners that way as well. To understand what it actually means for our downtown. On the 2nd, there's a concert. On the 3rd, there's a concert. On the 4th, it's NBA preseason. On the 5th, it's UFC. On the 6th, it's NHL preseason. On the 7th, it's NBA preseason. On the 8th, it's NHL. On the 9th, we're blank. On the 10th, it's NHL. On the 11th, it's a concert. On the 12th, it's NHL. On the 13th, there's a concert. On the 14th, it's blank. On the 15th, there's NBA preseason. And on the 16th, there's NHL.
So let me add something on the schedule.
That's crazy.
That's just the Delta Center.
This is a new world for us.
This is just the Delta Center.
How are we going to do this in October?
Okay, on top of all of that, let me roll out what the rest of our world also looks like. Utah football on October 11th, on September 28th, is hosting Arizona. So 2 days before that wild October kicks off, or 3 days before that wild October kicks off, and then their October looks like this. Arizona State, down at Arizona State. Utah hosting TCU October 19th. That's a pretty freaking big game.
Yeah.
BYU and Utah, November 9th. By the way, October's crazy. November will be wild here in the state of Utah also because you're going to be into full-on NHL, full-on NBA, full-on college football season. All of the concert schedule, like he had rolled out too at Delta Center. All of this is going to be, we're going to be hit in the face with the amount of sports we've begged for, and we never thought that really would actually happen. And here we are. October, November is going to be one of the most insane times to be a sports fan in the state of Utah. And if you're not ready for it, it's going to be crazy. BYU, that very same time frame, is at home 3 of the 4 weeks of October. And that is a phenomenal thing to look at and go, man, this is going to be quite a big time. This is going to be a big 2 months. I'll throw November in there because that's when we're going to be full regular seasons for basketball and for NBA and NHL. College football season is going to be in full swing. We are going to have a lot on our plate, and I will tell you, everybody here is doing everything that we can to make sure that everything is in your ear or in front of your face on the TV.
By the way, BYU has Arizona and Oklahoma State at home in October.
Okay?
Saturday and a Friday night.
This is a phenomenal time to be a fan of sports in the state of Utah. All right? So that gets you pumped up. It gets you extremely pumped up for what's going on down there. And it's such a cool thing to be able to be a part of it from just the witnessing it part. Not like we did anything, right? We get to cover it, be a part of it. This is the reason we got into the careers that we got into. But none of us ever thought that it would get to this level, did we?
No.
My heavens. Stay right here with us, 97.5 VKSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen.
The biggest name. You're locked into JJ and Alex. With the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Played well tonight. A lot of things we feel like we could do better, but it definitely does feel good to win the first game. But we know that 2 years ago we won the first game, and the outcome of that series. So we still have a lot of work to do.
What can we do to build on the positives? We'll talk about that tomorrow. Understanding the small things, the physicality, we have to be better at that. But just looking at the positives, look at the things that we can control, and then we'll build from there.
I was so freaking excited to watch this game one.
I think a lot of people were, but by the end, no one was watching it.
When it was 82-64, I tuned out.
Yeah, you
hung
with it longer than most.
I put the youngest kids to bed and went, and it didn't turn around. I was actually shocked that Kristaps Porzingis came in and made the impact that he did as soon as he did.
He's fresh.
I guess you could say that. That's why he's got the energy. He's playing against his former team too. There's that whole dynamic. So is Kyrie. I don't know if you heard that storyline. Hey, JJ, Kyrie played for the Boston Celtics early in his career. I don't know if you knew this. Yeah.
Breaking news. So Kyrie, 12 points, 6 of 19 from the field, 0 of 5 from 3.
Ooh.
If you want to look at the score, 107-89, what was missing? Kyrie was missing. And also the fact that Luka is just absolutely getting cooked. Like he can't guard a chair against the Celtics team. That's something that they're going to have to make an adjustment to, and the Celtics are going to try to continue to exploit that. So if in order for the Mavericks to win this series, you've got to have Doncic and Kyrie scoring a lot because the other guys didn't really pull through either. P.J. Washington had a decent night, 14 points. But that's it. Nobody else really did anything offensively. And you look at the Celtics, a nice balanced effort. All 5 starters were in double figures, and Porzingis coming off the bench with 20. That was huge.
What's really interesting to me too is watching the way that Dallas had success. The last 2 series was they came out and punched their opponents in the mouth, like shocked them. Right? They came out and just absolutely in the games that they had, because I think it was.
So remember, they lost game 1 to the Thunder, 117-95, and then they came back and won 4 the next 5.
Maybe there's going to be something to
Maybe.
this, right? Where the Thunder, now they went up 2-0 against
They lost game 1 to the Clippers, 109-97.
In L.A.
Came back to win what? 4 the next 5.
We have a pattern here.
We do.
But the last round in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, that was just a match. They own that matchup. That was a tough matchup for the Timberwolves and the Thunder. The Mavericks were.
All right, so
and that could have gone either way. That game 1 was close. I don't know.
I've changed my attitude then, because my whole thing is I see a game like that.
You really you were gonna come in here doomsday for the Mavericks.
Well, I'm just saying
are you that concerned?
One, I don't care that much about either of these teams.
Well, of course, none of us are that invested.
But I want a series, and so in my head, when you don't even get to 90 points in a 2024 NBA Finals, and you have one of the most prolific scorers of the moment in the league, and he doesn't show up, because what was Luka from 3? He
4 of 12.
4 of 12, yeah.
Not great. As a team, they were 7 of 27. I don't have it. I don't have it in front of me. Sorry, I'm not prepared. But
25.9.
I bet it's been a while since the Mavericks only made 7 threes in a game.
Yeah.
It's probably been a minute.
Yeah.
The Celtics, on the other hand, went 16 of 42 from 3, 38%.
Oh, man.
They shot the ball well. I mean, Jason
42
Tatum.
threes, man.
Yeah. I mean,
amazing.
Like Jason Tatum made 3. Horford 2. Drew Holiday 2. Derek White 3. Jaylen Brown 2. Sam Hauser 2.
Sam Hauser.
Porzingis 2. Everybody was making threes except for Peyton Pritchard, who missed. He went 0 for 5. Everyone else was knocking down threes. It was a bad combination for the Mavericks. Kyrie didn't get anything going offensively, and Luka couldn't guard anybody, and the Celtics couldn't miss for a while. So there you have it. 37-20 first quarter. Good night.
I had hope before halftime. Oh, they might try to figure this thing out. So as it goes along here, as the rest of the series, I'm taking, you know what, now that I look at it, you've given me that little tidbit of insight there, JJ. I like it. The Mavericks lost their previous games in the opening round of the playoffs to the Clippers on the Clippers floor, right?
Yeah.
What was the point differential in that one?
Let me go. Give me one moment.
What was the over-under on? I told you last night, I go, if I have to see a Wahlberg, and there was like 5.5.
So we're going Mavs-Clippers game 1, point differential. That's what you want?
Yes.
12 points. 109-97.
Okay. So you lose by 18. You're kind of right there. What was the Thunder one? Tell me the Thunder one was a bigger gap.
117-95. That was a 22-point loss
there you
in
go.
game 1.
I think we're seeing a pattern here.
I think we are.
Very similar. All right. They got there. They put the feelers out there. But, man, Kristaps Porzingis is a nightmare because
that could be an X factor for the Celtics.
He's a nightmare because he plays defense, too. Like, he is
3 blocks.
Including that one who was on that breakaway in that very first quarter. And they go up, and it looked like an easy dunk, and Porzingis gets back and is 2 feet above the rim with his reach and knocks that ball off of the line. I want to say it's P.J. Washington. Well, either way. Bottom line is he made an immediate impact. Kristaps Porzingis played 21 minutes off of the bench.
It was Josh Green.
Josh Green. Did you see do you remember the play though?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it, and I went, there's a problem for this Mavericks team. And that's why they needed to get Kristaps Porzingis back. He comes off the bench, 21 minutes, plus 13 on the night for him when he's on the floor. Just a mere 20 points off of the bench. Like you said, 50% from 3 with 2 for 4. Crazy. All right. But I have hope. Game 2 is going to be, what is that, on Saturday, Sunday? Sunday night? Sunday. Let's hope the Mavericks figure it out. All right. We'll take a break. We have a fun Would You Rather around the corner. All right. So I've got some things I threw in there. I'm going to throw it at JJ. It's a fun Friday, okay? I promise we're going to have some fun. We'll also dip in down at the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games coming up in just a few minutes as well. Nominate your youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Have you heard us do these? Submit your nomination, KSLSports.com/contest, and listen every Thursday afternoon. JJ and I are going to read those off every Thursday. We did it yesterday. We get a winner every week. We want you to nominate that awesome youth sports volunteer that makes a difference in your community and is unsung, and we will sing them, okay? Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals. All right, we'll come back. We got more to go around the corner. Would you rather next? 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Everybody, real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right, would you rather goes like this. I give you a scenario, JJ, and you tell me what you'd rather do. National Donut Day. I got a text from a friend that says that's the kind of stuff you don't share on the air, by the way.
Oh, really?
Because this was one of the participants in the dumpster diving.
Oh, no. Now they're...
I didn't out him.
You didn't use their name.
No, I didn't out him.
You didn't implicate anybody else in your crimes.
But you know what? One of my roommates in college is also from Wyoming. JJ.
Oh, really? What
also a giant freaking Broncos fan.
What
Cheyenne.
part? He's from Cheyenne?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know how far away Star Valley is from Cheyenne?
It's Wyoming.
It's like from Denver to Salt Lake City.
There's 11 people between you.
Basically.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I've met a lot of really intense Bronco fans in my day. Some of them work here at this very station. This guy's sells out so big time to the Broncos.
Love it. Good for him.
Yeah.
Good man.
So there you go. Let me see here. No, but he wasn't. And the Wyoming guy wasn't one of the dumpster divers. So don't worry. Okay. It was just me. It was just me, everybody, okay? Would you rather? Don't miss your chance every week here on the KSL Sports Zone. Every Wednesday, in fact, we give away some stuff. This coming Wednesday, family 4-pack of tickets to the suite, the KSL suite for comedian Theo Vaughn at the Maverick Center on June 30th. That's not freaking bad. You know what comes in the suite, by the way?
Tickets.
Usually there's some snacks and some
popcorn.
Drinks. Oh, yeah.
All right.
Take advantage of it, man.
How about M&M's in the popcorn?
Ooh. I haven't ever done that.
I shouldn't promise that.
No, I haven't ever done that.
That'd be a good idea at Maverick Center.
No, it'd be good. KSL Sports Zone all day long. That's where we do it every Wednesday. Win Ticket Wednesday. We were just talking about the season tickets went up for sale for Utah's hockey team, right? Did we find out any prices or anything?
Oh, yeah.
So we didn't dip in.
Yeah.
Jay Stevens is going to talk to us next hour, but
it's out there.
40-something.
Starts at $44 per game for Upper Bowl. Lower Bowl starts around $120 per game.
That's not bad.
It's not that's a pretty good value.
Well, especially considering, I don't know what and the Jazz tickets must be comparable, right? There's probably some, I don't know, because
NBA is a little more expensive.
Yes. The lower bowl at the NBA level is an expensive ticket.
Yes.
So, but maybe if you own season tickets. I don't hate that. I love it. So would you rather have season tickets to your college football team of choice, and you've got to transfer your mind into a sports fan, not just a guy who covers the sports, KJJ?
Okay.
Your college football team of choice, which here in the state of Utah, the season tickets for BYU just got way more expensive. Utah is always a waiting list now, right? So college football team of your choice, NHL hockey, or Jazz season tickets. You only get one of those season tickets.
I got to pick one. I'm going NHL hockey. Here's why. Number one, the Jazz aren't good right now.
Ooh.
So NHL hockey is probably a better value as far as quality of play.
Lots of energy around
quality of team. College football is incredible. Every game is an event, but there's only 6 games a year. Give me the 41 home games for the NHL hockey team.
Okay. Don't hate it. I think that's a good choice.
Sound logic?
That's a good choice.
College football fan right now is laughing at me, but
Well, I'm sure there's some people who are like that, but guess what? It's just one of those. It's one of those things. It's one of those things, man. I'm the same way. NHL hockey right now, unbeatable in terms of the.
It's new, fresh, exciting.
Yes, the energy around it, crazy.
The Jazz got to build some excitement for the fans here to get them back engaged in what the team's doing.
I'm all in on that. Would you rather be a serviceable kind of 10-year NBA player? No championships, but you're that guy, played for 3 teams in 10 years, or you're a good player. Or would you rather be a Hall of Fame head coach?
Player.
Hall of Fame, JJ.
Don't care.
All right.
Do you know how hard it is to make the NBA?
I do not.
There's only 450 people currently on the planet that are good enough. Only half of those are in the rotation, and only half of those start.
Yeah, but there's only 30 head coaches in the NBA.
And nobody cares about them, and they get fired every 2 or 3 years.
Ooh.
You get to tell people you made it to the NBA? That's incredible.
Yeah.
I'd rather be in. I'd take 20-game NBA career over Hall of Fame head coach.
Well, 10
who cares?
10-year NBA career is still what?
That's incredible.
And that's a career earnings of $190.
Who cares about the fame?
I give you the money. Oh, wait, what?
That too.
I love it. All right. Don't hate that. How about this one? Since it's National Donut Day.
Yes.
An amazing donut. Like just that airy, still hot. My move was when we lived up in Salt Lake here, we lived pretty close to Banbury, the original Banbury. I would go in and I would say, hey, what do you have that's warm right now?
That's brilliant.
That's a move.
That is.
And if it's even if it's not something that I would pick normally, it's hot. And that's ridiculous. It takes everything to the next level. Okay? You tell I haven't had a donut in a minute. An amazing donut or an amazing slice of pizza.
Pizza all day, every day. I am a pizza guy, big time.
Again, Jeremy says pizza too. Again, we haven't had a lot of pizza.
Give me a New York slice over an amazing donut.
Okay.
I love. I cannot tell you how much I love pizza. One of the reasons why I had to go to Salt Lake City Fat Loss
was your love of pizza.
Was my love of pizza.
I might have gotten you off.
And I like bad pizza too.
What's a bad pizza?
I probably shouldn't mention anybody by name, but you bring home a Little Caesars. I'm still eating half of it.
I know. And I go,
I'm not going to say no.
My wife and I do this all the time where she'll go, pick up Little Caesars for the kids and we'll get something nice. We'll get something good. I will definitely have 4 slices of the kids' pizza that I pretended like I was poo-pooing. I was like, no.
You tell them to put the garlic sauce on the outside of it with the buttery.
They do it?
Oh, yeah. The same stuff they put on the breadsticks.
Don't hate it.
Put it on the crust.
Last one. So Oklahoma pulled it off. They won their 4th national title.
Yes, dynasty.
In softball. Your daughter wins 4 straight softball NCAA titles, or your son wins 1 college football title.
Daughter wins 4 straight. That's special. That's a dynasty.
Yeah, but the college football playoffs, JJ.
Yeah, I know.
But the college football playoffs. You know what that means? And they're going to show you in the crowd periodically. Says his dad is his inspiration. Right?
Well, if I'm an inspiration, that explains a lot of my household.
All right. Let's jump out to Stephen Meredith.
Sad dad right now.
We're jumping down to Cedar City. We're, of course, talking about the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games. Stephen Meredith, Associate VP of Enrollment Online at SUU. First of all, Stephen, describe the vibe going on as you guys celebrate these Utah Summer Games. It's an awesome thing down there in Cedar City. First of all, how are you? Second of all, how amazing is it down there?
We're doing great, and hello from Cedar City.
There you go.
The vibe is awesome down here. We're just to the west of the football stadium, and things are setting up for what promises to be an amazing kickoff tonight for the Summer Games.
Stephen, I'm going to have to ask you, why you came on?
Cross.
Why you came? No, why you came on and had to show us up with the radio voice?
Oh,
Jeez.
sorry about that.
No,
I do the sports down here for SUU along with my day job as online and yeah. I also have the face to go with it, if that helps.
We're the guy. No,
we all do.
Well, listen, we appreciate a good radio voice when we hear it.
Absolutely.
I heard it, and I was like, this dude's a pro. Let's talk a little bit about what SUU means to the community down there. How big of a deal have online degrees become now that you're one of these people who obviously heads this up, and right now a way to get a college degree in 2024 is much different than the way that my dad got a college degree.
Yes, and I should say, we just celebrated our 125th anniversary last year, and a lot of people don't know this about SUU. We started as the Branch Normal School, which was a branch campus of the University of Utah. So we've had distance education built into our DNA from the very beginning. But as you pointed out, online wasn't really a thing until the pipe got big enough to get to people's houses and really deliver high-quality education, and that's happened within about the last 5 years. 5 years ago, we had 200 online students. Today, we have about 3,200 online students here at SUU, and it's a way to extend the opportunities and the blessings of Thunderbird education to people that can't join us here in Cedar City. We love Cedar City, but we know it's a little bit out in the woods too. So there are a lot of people that join us and become SUU Thunderbirds from a distance.
Whether it's online or on campus, what makes Southern Utah such a great option for people to get a college degree?
Well, I think we're focused on people here and on success. I mean, the campus itself, of course, is beautiful. We're known as the University of the Parks, and we're surrounded by as many national parks as you can shake a stick at. But I have to say that I've worked in higher ed for about 35 years now, and the difference for me at SUU is that we put people first. And that starts in the President's Suite with President Mindy Benson and goes all the way down to every employee here. We love our students, and we put their needs and desires first.
Hold on a minute. Can I get 100% of an MBA online through you guys? Is that a thing for real?
You absolutely can. Wow. At a price that's about 25% of my alma mater up on the hill there.
Wow.
So.
Okay.
Yeah,
again, and then I don't have to. Now I like going down to Southern Utah. I'm down there quite a bit during the year. So, but that's a crazy thing to be able to do. That's an awesome thing to be able to. By the way, you can go online and find all of these different programs that they do. Online education, including master's degrees, including all sorts of education. So this is fun. This is fun for us. I love that the community is so plugged into those summer games down there as well. Stephen Meredith, Associate VP of Enrollment online at SUU. We appreciate it, Stephen. We'll chat with you guys again, and thanks for hanging out and representing the Thunderbirds, man.
Thanks, guys.
There you go.
Thanks, Stephen.
Gosh, why does he have to have a better voice than us?
I'm going to go home. We'll let Stephen do the show.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
It's good.
I'm going to come back with my Stephen Meredith impersonation next, all right? We're going to come back. We got more to go. Jay Stevens is going to join us. Of course, if we are talking about hockey, one of our hockey insiders right here at the KSL Sports Zone is Jay Stevens. And, of course, with Ryan Smith joining Hanson Scotty today, had a lot to talk about. And we've got to ask him about those season tickets, about the Stanley Cup playoffs, the finals that are firing up tomorrow. So let's get going. We got tons going on around the corner. Stay right here with us, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us, everybody. Our program is always brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs a protein-packed, quick, tasty, and nutritious boost. They had a flavor, a new flavor. It's not a new flavor. I just haven't had it, but maybe because I'm so desperate for tasty things right now. There was one that had like a banana. It had banana in it, chocolate banana. Have you had that one yet, Jeremy? I don't know.
What are you talking about again?
Chocolate peanut butter banana G2G bar. That looks like.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, you got.
Do they have a pizza flavored G2G bar?
Not yet.
That's my new donut. When I get off of the full. I mean, I can have a protein bar. Come on, that's gonna be my cheat. I'm gonna go get a G2G bar. All right.
If I'm cheating better than that. No offense. No offense to G2G.
Well, no, you don't go. I'm gonna cheat with a protein bar. No, come on.
Right.
I get it. That's the donut. Also, we're going to kick off this part of the show. It's the front end of the hour. We're going to talk with Jay Stevens. He is one of our amazing hockey insiders now, our NHL insiders. He's, of course, the host of the Puck Report right here on the Utah Puck Report on the podcast side of things. You can take a listen. Let's jump in here with the cut, top of the hour.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is What Made the Cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This portion of the show also brought to you by an incredible selection of Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram. Visit Doug Smith dealerships in American Fork and Spanish Fork. Great service starts with know-how, and nobody knows like Doug. Jay Stevens joining us on the program, like I said, Utah Puck Report, and our good hockey friend. Now that we are trying to figure out the world of hockey, it's becoming more and more into focus for us. The Ryan Smith interview, Jay, that Hans and Scotty had earlier today, phenomenal to be able to dive in, and almost all of that conversation centered around hockey, man.
Yeah, it's about time, right? Isn't that what you guys have been thinking this whole time?
Yeah, absolutely, especially now. And look, when you've got your fingerprints all over it, when this is your legacy, bringing a team here to Utah, you would have that type of vibe. Like, it would be very hard to focus on anything else when this has been something you've been focusing on for so long.
Oh, yeah. And, man, I listened to that interview, and I've got Ryan on my show next week, and they asked all the good questions. I got to come up with a whole new slate.
Yeah. Well, you can cheat off of them. You can just cheat off some of those questions. See if they match up. See if he stays true to what he was bringing up. The team names are up, and the votes are coming in. Is it going to be the Utah Puck Report for much longer, or is it just going to be the Yeti Puck Report at some point?
Yeah, I'm down for whatever. And Yeti, the Mammoth Report, I'm down for whatever. And yes, we have 6 names we're down to. Everybody's jumping online and voting again. They had, 500,000 votes before, so no reason to think we're not going to get the same kind of turnout. People are starting to get really passionate about names. They really love some and really hate some, and it's I don't know. A lot of people are really vested in it.
Jay, I'm disappointed you're not here in person because you'd see me wearing my Salt Lake Golden Eagles t-shirt.
He does. He's rocking it. It's the green one.
And it's Kelly green, too. It's old school. It's like, the early 80s, not the 90s Golden Eagles. But and I'm disappointed that Golden Eagles isn't an option, but I get it. The Golden Knights are just down the road. But we know what you have to work with. So I have to ask you, what's your favorite? What would you like to see? What would you least like to see?
I would least like to see Utah Hockey Club. And then next to that was Venom. I don't want either of those.
Nobody likes Venom. How is it still on the list?
I have no idea. That one really surprised me. I'm really into the Mammoth thing. I'm liking that quite a bit. I like the Outlaws. I just can't see that actually being a thing. And the kids really want Yeti. When you talk to all the kids and the youth around here, they seem to really want Yeti. And it's for them more than it's for me. They're going to be going to these games forever too. And I'm happy that I get to go to an NHL game. So call them a Yeti, call them whatever. Just, start selling me some tickets. Let me go.
Well, that's starting today, right?
Yes, it did. It started today. So it's pretty intense too. Like people going over there and checking out the sight lines and putting down money on, or buying their tickets started today.
So, yeah, take people through the experience of what they can expect if they haven't already, or what the experience has been for people trying to purchase those tickets, because you had 34,000 people make a deposit, but there's only 10,000 unobstructed seats.
Yeah, and they're going right down the list. So the first person that jumped online and made that $100 deposit is the first person that gets to go to the Delta Center and pick their seat.
Wow.
And they're going to go right down the line. And so they've reached out. They've started calling people saying, hey, be on at this time. And, you come here you got a 2-hour slot to come sit in some seats, You can buy a maximum of 4. So like my men's league team did a buy-in together. They were going to buy 10 tickets. Now we're only going to get 8 tickets because we have 2 guys that made deposits under different names. So then you put your money down. Tickets start at $44 for upper bowl, and then if you're feeling like your club level, it's $500 per game for 41 games.
Huh. Well, look, the 34,000. What's the reality going to be then? It's just the 10,000 plus the. I mean, what are the number of seats that are going to be actually designated as season tickets in the arena? Is it between 10 and 13,000? What was the actual number that they're going to settle on for actual season ticket holders?
They didn't tell us exactly what they settled on. They said they're going to, there's probably about 11,000 seats that'll be unobstructed that you'll be able to see. They'll have in, and it's going to be dependent on whether or not they had to tear down the night before for a Jazz game or whatever. But they're going to cram as many seats in there as they can in the corners and stuff to make it as many good seats as they can. They're anticipating around 16,000 or 17,000. And they didn't say the limit on who's going to have season tickets. They did say that they're going to break them up. They'll have 10 game tickets, full season package, half season package. So they're really going to try and make sure that all 34,000 people that put in get something out of it. And then you get to stay on the list, too. You stay on the list, and as more seats become available over the next few seasons, you'll get more opportunity to buy those seats as long as you're on the initial list. And then if you buy the partially obstructed seats, they're going to try and make that worth your while by giving you other access to stuff. So they're really working hard to try to make sure everybody gets some kind of engagement out of it.
Season tickets available now makes it even more real. You're interviewing players, which has been great. If you're listening right now, go to KSLSports.com. Check out the Puck Report. Jay's been talking to exclusive interviews with players for Utah's NHL hockey team. Your latest was Sean Durzi. What did you learn from Sean? What have you been learning from these interviews about this team?
Sean Durzi is an amazing person. He's been one of my favorite interviews I've ever done, and he's just dialed in. He's excited. The main thing I'm getting from all these players is they're excited to come to Utah, and they're excited to have all this stuff behind them and to they're feeding off the energy that they got at our big pep rally, the Meet the Team pep rally at the Delta Center, and everything they got right when they got off the plane. They're just in love with the idea of being here now, and they know that they're in a better situation where now they can just focus on hockey and play. They're going to get some new free agents this year. And everybody just seems to be relieved and excited, and they love Utah. They have really good things to say about Utah.
When you see these, the NHL has the best. The Stanley Cup playoffs are the best playoffs you can get in all of the big sports, and so that's one thing that I think has been easy for people if they're just getting into hockey. Watching playoff hockey is, I think, how a lot of people enter the doors of watching hockey because the excitement is so there, and these games can get so crazy. So let's talk a little bit about this matchup. The Florida Panthers, a really, really exceptionally good team, and only getting better, it seems like, and just mowing down those Eastern Conference teams that I think a lot of people had, in the Stanley Cup final. But, of course, just like every sport, it's wherever, that team who's hitting their peak. And certainly on the Eastern side of things, you've got the Florida Panthers. And then on the other side, the Edmonton Oilers trying to get their first cup for the Canadians, for the entire country of Canada, for the first one since 1993. So let's talk a little bit about that matchup. Who's got the edge in this one, and why is it the Florida Panthers?
You already knew what I was going to say. I've been saying this since December, and it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. Florida was there last year, too. And they're a really good team, and they have really good goaltending, and they have a couple players that just turn it on during the playoffs. I mean, Tkachuk does what he does year-round. He is what he is. He's going to be out there grinding, and he's going to play right to the line, and he's going to make everybody on the other team forget what they're supposed to do because they're so worried about what he's doing, and it just throws them off their game. And then you got, Sam Bennett and Barkov. Barkov being one of the best players in the NHL, and nobody's talking about how good he is. And he just kind of tips the scale. Edmonton's stacked. I mean, we can't say they're not. With a guy like Connor McDavid and Draisaitl and Hyman, I mean, they just have an amazing lineup, and I think they're great. But Florida was there last year. They learned from their loss last year. They're going to come out just physical, and they're going to make it a grind for Edmonton. The one thing Edmonton has going for them is that Dallas did not take the body the way they should have that whole series. So Edmonton's going to come in a little more refreshed. But their back end and their goaltending is not where it needs to be to win a Stanley Cup.
I think that may be the difference. I mean, the sentimental favorite is Edmonton. I think those of us who remember the 80s and remember the Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier teams would love to see Edmonton win it. I think we'd finally like to see Canada's suffering come to an end, 31 years without a cup. But what I think is really important from our perspective here in Utah is watching these two teams battle for Stanley Cup. And I'm going to be looking, saying, okay, what can Utah do to be like these teams? And I'm sure you're doing the same. Is there anything that this new Utah franchise can learn from these teams as they play the Stanley Cup final that's going to help their success moving forward?
Yeah, 100%. Well, the first thing the Utah team can do is grab Reinhart off Florida because he's an unrestricted free agent.
You're not the first person that said that. Everybody we interview is talking about, you know what? Ryan's got money. They probably need to go get Reinhart because he's an unrestricted free agent. That's that big name that keeps coming up over and over again. That's interesting. Sorry to interrupt, but that you're not the first person that's thrown that our way.
No, and that's because there's only one bigger name than him that's an unrestricted free agent right now, and that's Stamkos. And everybody knows Stamkos isn't leaving Tampa Bay. Like, he's just going to stay. That's his home. He's been there his entire career. Reinhart, on the other hand, like, he deserves a raise. Florida doesn't have the space to give him a raise. There's going to be a lot of the guys after they win this cup they're going to want a raise too. So I can see Reinhart picking up a cup. That makes him worth even more because now he has that, and then you just bring him over, right? But yeah, besides that, watching how these teams play, Bill Armstrong, he was on my show last night. That episode drops next week. He talked a little bit about the intensity and what it takes to win a Stanley Cup, and it takes a lot of physical play. You know, the game's always changing, and during this regular season, it's not as physical. But once the playoffs hit, playoffs are playoffs. It's physical. Everybody finishes their check. The refs kind of bury the whistles a little bit, and you got to have players that can play through that. And that's what Utah's going to look for. That's the kind of player Bill Armstrong was, and that's what he's going to get, I think, in this free agency.
Jay Stevens joining us. Of course, Utah Puck Report is his podcast. You can hear it by just going over to the KSL Sports website, KSLSports.com. You can click on podcast, find it right there. Jay getting all these exclusives like we were talking about and being able to get Bill Armstrong obviously on. And we were talking about how these hockey guys, they love to talk about it. They love to talk, not just because it's like, oh, I guess we got to promote this new team. This is like Bill Armstrong likes to get on and talk about hockey. It doesn't matter what market he's in. It just so happens to be that they're here in Utah now and they're leaning into it, but this is the way they are.
Yeah, I've been telling you guys, when you guys, everybody's asking me, what's the difference going to be when the NHL gets here? And it's going to be that you have a lot more access to the team, and they're excited about it. They told me I had 15 to 20 minutes with Bill. We went 40-plus minutes.
Wow.
And it wasn't me. It wasn't my – like, you're right. He's a storyteller. We all have such a passion for the game that once you get these guys talking, there's no stopping them. They want to tell that story, and they want to finish it. And then that will remind them of another story they want to tell. And if you're lucky like me to have a show where you can sit back and listen to these guys tell these stories, it's just amazing to listen to what they've gone through their whole lives playing hockey and what it took to get to where they're at.
Jay, if somebody's listening right now and maybe they're dipping in and going, oh, I'll give hockey a shot. I don't think they need to choose between the Jazz or hockey, but there's certainly a lot of people who are like, oh, I've never had Jazz season tickets, but we're going to get hockey season tickets. So let's talk a little bit about if somebody does and they're on that list and they're going to be a part of that new kind of era going forward as season ticket holders. What is going to be the best thing for somebody who were we talking with last hour? We were just talking about this last hour with somebody who's like, people are buying these and they're going all. I was listening to Ryan Smith talk about it. Yeah. They're buying season tickets and they're like, no, this is going to be the thing that our family does now.
Yeah, and it's great entertainment for the family, and I don't know why. Because it's got something that everybody wants. And they said, I think only 8% of the Jazz season ticket holders opted in to buy the hockey season tickets. So, yeah, it's going to be a totally new audience seeing like I've said before, hockey is everything you want it to be. If you want to see beauty, watch them skate. You want to see something amazing, watch them transition from offense to defense, how quick that happens. It's beautiful. And then if you want to see, if you're a football guy and you want to see hard hits, it's there. And they're hitting, hard and fast, and they're traveling a lot faster when they're hitting. And if that's not violent enough for you, you're going to get the fights too. So you get all of it. And then you start to learn why things happen and when they're going to happen. And you just see that it's just such a beautiful game. And it's so much fun to watch. And it's so fast. And it's always, always, always intense. Even the playoffs are unreal. But even just during the regular season when you're there, it's always intense. And there's always something riding. So I think Utah fans that have not had a chance to see NHL live are going to be blown away by the speed and the size of these guys.
Jay Stevens, Utah Puck Report. Jay, as always, thanks for being with us, man. We appreciate it, and thanks for keeping us in the know, man. This is what we're doing. We're trying to get in the know on hockey, and you're helping us, man. We appreciate it.
Anytime. I love to talk about hockey.
There you go. Jay Stevens, everybody.
Accessing. When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, we're all in. Not just on hockey, but the world of sports this fall. I don't know how we're going to handle it. This can be too much, right?
It's a good problem to have.
It is a definite first world problem.
I'm so excited. Just the excitement of taking on everything that's new.
Too many sports to cover.
No.
Boo-hoo.
Wah. Wah. Wah.
I get called. Let's hit me with some first world problem music here, Jeremy, because if we're gonna complain about it, you gotta have some Songbird from Kenny G just to really boo-hoo. Too many sports teams to cover, Jeremiah, and I'm gonna lean in mostly to hockey. I feel like in my personal life. And I feel like that's going to be a problem at home. My wife's going to be like, we're a hockey family now? I'll say, absolutely. JJ, I'm a hockey family man now.
Okay, well.
That's the way it is.
So be it.
Another first world sports problem.
You don't have to pick.
They called me 1,114th on the list. Ugh. Of getting the deposit in. Now, not me personally, but there's somebody out there today who was like, because they're just going down the line.
Well, you can't have you have to have an unobstructed view. I mean,
they didn't invite me for a 2-hour window to watch and sit around in different seats today? Oh, that must be number 30,000 on the list. Could you imagine? Oh, I'm only 30. I'm 30,000 on the list. Never going to get a call back from the ticket office. Boo-hoo. Gonna have to buy one-off tickets for my family during the season. The things we complain about. National Donut Day, by the way.
That's something to complain about.
If you want to complain about.
Let's talk about first world problems. Yeah. How about the fact that I can't eat a donut, right?
Multiple Banbury crosses now that I have to drive by. They're popping up now.
What's the other one? The deli?
What?
The real popular donut place.
The donuts, Fresh Donuts and Deli,
yes,
right?
Yes. That's
State
spot.
Street. Yeah. No, it's good.
Checks in the mail, hopefully, for that little shout out.
Checks in the mail. That's what's great about these mom. That's like one of those mom and pop shops. It's like a. That's
why I like to mention them. I'm not going to mention why not? Krispy Kreme. It's a chain, but
it's spelled with a K though. Ugh.
Yeah. But I love how the signs turns on when they're hot and fresh.
The ones my son got out of the garbage were definitely crispy.
Not so hot and fresh.
Oh my gosh! Son,
speaking of first world problems, dumpster diving for Krispy Kremes.
Like as a funny flex too.
Yeah.
We got him out of the dumpster.
I just got back from the bins.
Sup,
I got
dude?
my retro clothes on, and I'm
So
gonna
why do
go
we have,
get
like, Since when do we have
some hot donuts?
Since when do we have multiple Krispy Kreme boxes in the house? Oh, I got them from a friend. Is this name Waste Management? Oh, my goodness. All right. We've got some hockey to get into with the hockey owner here in town, Ryan Smith, who joined Hanson Scotty today. We're going to play in its entirety, or in most of its entirety, the 40-minute interview, but we're going to do about 28 and a half minutes of it. And so you're going to hear that at the 5 o'clock hour. Here's what Ryan Smith said about the NHL team, but also downtown and kind of what's going on here. And here's what he said about the local fans and taking ownership of that new team.
You know, you don't get to start a brand from scratch very often. This is a community asset. And if you think about the prior conversation about people coming in and wanting to be a part of it, they're voting on it. It's not about Ryan Smith or my family or our ownership group as much as it truly is about the community. And so we want the community to be able to take part in naming it. You know, we're not going to run design by 500,000 people because that would be a disaster. But, I think it's really working as far as the outreach and getting people invested and wanting to provide ideas. And, we've come up with 6 names, and it's amazing.
He's right. It's brilliant. Involve the community in choosing and picking the name. I'm not naive. I mean, I'm sure they're not going to have fans do all of it.
Right.
And when it comes down to it, they get to choose what the name is,
sure,
regardless of what the fans say. But make people feel like they're a part of this right from the get-go. They've handled this so well. They really have executed this very well.
I wonder
when it's not. I can't compare it. I don't know what it was like in Seattle and Vegas. Clearly, they've been successful both on and off the ice. Those two franchises as expansion teams, but I can't look at anything that they've done here with this and say, oh, what were they thinking?
Right, and we think about it from the branding perspective and the lead time on being able to get gear and blah blah blah. What's funny is
we don't care about that. We're not.
Well,
we don't understand that.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Everybody wants it
those
now.
are the things we ask about. So
yeah,
and that was one thing he brought up because people were like, "Oh, why can't you get the name this year?" This is what he said about getting the name right now for this year.
We close on the transaction next week, so naming and all that needs to come long after that, and the season's obviously already started from the apparel standpoint, and all of that started long ago. So there's really no way to do that for this year. And that was definitely pointed out to us by the NHL early on.
Honey, when do we close on that house? Oh, awesome. In a couple weeks. Hey, Ryan, when do you close on that NHL deal? It's I love the idea of closing next week.
I just pictured Ryan and Ashley Smith having to show up at the place because we've all signed for our homes, right?
Oh yeah.
So they got to show up and they got to sign every page.
You got the notary.
Yeah, the notary's sitting right there, and you're like, how many more of these do I have to sign?
Now,
initial here.
Your NHL mortgage may be sold to another mortgage lender at some point during the process. What's your rate on that? All right. But no, I was bringing up the Stars. I brought up the Stars thing before because I was in Dallas as a 14-year-old when the Stars came to town. And I didn't give one thought about the branding or any of that stuff. The Stars came to town, and they were the Stars. They were formerly the North Stars. And they had new logos. The colors were black and green and gold, which for us was fantastic. That was cool, And as a kid, you don't think about any of that stuff. All you know is that there's a brand new team in town, and we had to get tickets to go to the game. We went. I remember going to the game. I didn't have enough appreciation for it, too. Sitting in Reunion Arena, watching the Gretzky Los Angeles Kings.
Oh, my gosh.
Marty McSorley, Wayne Gretzky on the ice against
Barry Melrose, their coach.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? And they were – and because Wayne Gretzky had – Marty McSorley came as a package deal. It's like having a knuckleballer with his catcher. You know, it's like that was his
Jeremy Evans to Gordon Hayward.
It was his. He was the goon for Wayne Gretzky, and it was just phenomenal. And you know what? I remember going to that game. The Stars won 6-2, so you have 8 goals scored in the game.
Wow.
And I was just like, I was in. It's just crazy to think. No one cares about anything else except for when that puck hits the ice, it's going to be so fun for everybody here locally.
It's not going to matter that they don't have the Yeti uniforms on yet.
Or the mammoth.
Whatever.
The
Just
mammoth
drop
slides.
The puck, let this team go, and we're going to love them, and it's going to be a blast. So all that stuff will get worked out, and I'm sure it's going to be great. I mean, the Jazz just nailed their new SCG's just nailed the new Jazz rebrand, which I think is great. And so I think they're going to get hockey right. I think they learned a lot of lessons from that Jazz rebrand, and I think it's going to pay dividends here with the hockey team.
All right, we'll come back. I've got more things that Ryan Smith had to talk about. One was how that relationship with BYU has come along, and it's really interesting, too, because he calls out not just BYU fans, but every college fan out there. We'll tell you how he did that. Next, right here, 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen,
You're locked into JJ and Alex. With the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex on a Friday. Thanks for being with us on the program. If you missed Ryan Smith and his chat with Hanson Scotty today, we're playing portions of that all day. We're going to play the vast majority of it coming up in about 10 minutes. If you want to stay tuned. He covered a lot of things. One of the things he covered was the relationship that he has with BYU. Hans asked the question too. He's like, "Hey, so how much do you have your hand in that whole thing? Because certainly basketball is starting to."
How can you all of a sudden afford $1.5 million for a player and $4.5 for a coach?
Yeah, and part of it was and Hans was like, "Look, I'm calling football games, man. I would love for some of that to turn the corner."
Yeah.
And here's what Ryan Smith said about his relationship with BYU and kind of how it got there. And yeah, he's committed and he got into it a little bit.
But my parents, probably similar to KY, they decided that this is probably best for the kids and the family right now. And they took a bet on going to BYU. And so, all five of us kind of came out here, and I grew up kind of roaming those halls of BYU and being there. And the more I've gotten older, the more I've realized that as life happened, my parents split up. I think my dad took a year off to kind of be with us kids because we were at a different phase of life, and it was a very critical one. And BYU kind of supported him through that. You fast forward 10 years after that, and my dad gets stage 4 throat cancer. BYU supports him all the way through that, include kind of working from home, resting, keeping everything there. We ended up starting Qualtrics together. And it was really in that moment where I was kind of just spending time with my dad. And then I never viewed myself as a BYU student type kid, whatever that was, but the profile wasn't me, especially growing up. And then as I went on my mission, I came back and said, I want to go to BYU, and I went to UVU first, but I wanted to go to BYU, and I had no college experience nor qualified to get in, and had to go prove myself. And I got there and then met my wife and started Qualtrics, and kind of the rest is history. So me supporting BYU is very, very not about sports. It's about they supported my family when we were going through our craziest times, like probably no employer I've ever seen. And it would be really weird for me to be in the spot I'm in and not support them.
So he kind of went on here, JJ, and one of the things I loved about this, I was like, we got to sneak this in, because he was like, I don't care what school you went to, like, they need you right now. And he called out, college grads across the country to start throwing some money at their schools to support them.
University and academia, including athletics, they all need their alumni right now more than they've ever needed this. Sorting out this world, not only on the academic side and everything that's going on and the disruption that's happening in their space, but sorting out the sports side and everything else, if you're an alumni of the U, like, call Taylor Randall right now and just say, I want to help. Especially if you're like me, where when I needed that school, they helped me. They all need everyone.
I loved that. I loved that part. I wanted to make sure we heard it because it's such a cool thing. I think a lot of people are in that spot now where they go, hey, that's what it is. It's ultimately just a guy supporting the school that his dad worked for and that he went to, right?
Yeah, it just creates an interesting dynamic here in our community because of, well, the rivalry.
And then he goes, if
you're doing that in Dallas for, but I'm trying to, or wherever. I don't know. It's just.
No, he said it and he goes, I have friends at all these places and I call them up and I say, start throwing money at the U, man. Start throwing money at Weber. Start throwing money at Utah State. Let's go. It's a huge part of this. Yep. And by the way, college sports has never been in the spot that it's been in right now in the state of Utah. It's better than it's ever been. The only way you can keep sustaining it is with that. All right.
You see what happens with BYU now. The ability to compete in basketball is they've never been able to do this, and we're going to see the fruits of it here this next season.
Unbelievable. All right.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. Our program, JJ and Alex, right here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, is always brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, nutritious boost. I haven't checked in. Are you having fun on a fun Friday, JJ?
I'm having a blast.
It's been good. It's flown by, which means we are having fun. And this will be another time. If you've not dipped into the conversation that Hans and Scotty had earlier today with Jazz owner, NHL hockey team owner, part owner of RSL and of the Utah Royals. Am I getting them all in there? Part of a $5 billion plus portfolio, they say now, of sports franchises. Ryan Smith started off the conversation. They were asking him about basically how busy things are going to start getting. And, it's going to be a quick turnaround. And this hockey team is going to be taking the ice, and it's going to be right on top of us pretty darn soon.
Yeah, it's for sure. I mean, we're 100 days out around there. And I think, look, I've done some gnarly stuff in my career professionally. And, we've had some crazy moments, whether it's going public or, acquiring companies or doing stuff like that. This is about as aggressive and crazy as anything that has come across my plate. And I think you mentioned Chris and Jim and the team. They're just doing a Herculean effort right now. Is everyone coming together and saying, hey, what can we do? We know these opportunities don't come along. I know there's 3 other cities right now who are begging for a hockey team. And these are big cities. These are basketball markets. And, they chose Utah. And so the answer is you just all join together as a community and you just try to get it done and the best you can, knowing that, it's not going to be perfect. And we don't want it to be perfect. We actually want it to be authentic. And we're building a community around hockey. And everyone has a chance to kind of get in on the ground floor. And we're definitely seeing that. You've seen a bunch of people probably heading over to the arena and looking at tickets. And I had someone call up yesterday. He's like, I've never been a Jazz fan, never done the NBA. And I was like, well, why are you doing hockey? And are you a fan? He's like, look, I've been to a couple playoff games, but this is a chance for me and my family to rally and say, this is what we're going all in on and starting. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And so we're seeing that a lot. I probably had 40 or 50 different conversations with people who live up in Park City who have moved here, spend the winters here, wanting to get involved in our community, and this is in a way that they're tying themselves to it. So it's a pretty neat moment, and I know the players are excited, coaches and everyone else is excited. They've all been out here, and they're going to do camp up in Park City. There's a lot going on, so it's pretty exciting.
So I'm curious where you came up with the idea to let Utahns picked the name of the team, and how is it going? Is it going the way you expected it to go? And where did you come up with that?
I think people. I think it's probably, these things. You don't get to start a brand from scratch very often, right? And I think this is definitely we said. I think we said in the press conference. We said that this is a community asset. And if you think about the prior conversation about people coming in and wanting to be a part of it, they're voting on it. It's not something. It's not about Ryan Smith or my family or our ownership group as much as it truly is about the community. And so, we want the community to be able to take part in naming it. And we're not going to run design by 500,000 people because that would be a disaster. But I think it's really working as far as the outreach and getting people invested in wanting to provide ideas. And, we've come up with 6 names, and it's amazing. I didn't think it would go nationally the way it has because, I got a text last night from someone in the hockey industry, and the only thing that said, "This is what I voted for." I was like, well, it was for you. But this is it. We've got our NBA people who are also chiming in. By the way, this is what I get all the time. By the way, it's the Eddie or the Outlaw or the Mammoth. Like, you're crazy if you don't do that. And so, but what I really like is I think there's a lot of people who are like, I don't care what it is. I'm just all in, and I'm excited, and that's neat. And so, we'll get down to the end and figure out, how it all goes. And we've gotten this far, and so I think it's fun. And by the way, there was no way in any scenario that, we close on the transaction next week, so naming and all that needs to come long after that, and the season's obviously already started from the apparel standpoint, and all of that started long ago, so really no way to do that for this year, and that was definitely pointed out to us by the NHL early on. And so it's kind of we first of all, to your question, Honda, we have the ability to do this, which is unique. A lot of times you don't have that ability. I think that I wasn't part of the Jazz process when they moved over, but I don't know how much went into rebranding or renaming or how all that went.
What is more difficult for you? And you do a tremendous job, and I know you take a lot of pride in marketing and branding and are fascinated by all that process. What's more difficult, or what have you found to be more difficult? Rebranding an NHL team from the ground up, having a clean slate and just starting from scratch, or working the Jazz and trying to re-image the Jazz with the new jerseys that you released earlier in the week and trying to rebrand the Jazz?
Yeah, so it's not like Ryan sitting there in Adobe trying to come up with new schemes, and we have a great team here, and we've got a great, great resources outside of here. Definitely the chance to be able to start fresh with a new team and kind of start building that history is a lot better. And there's nothing wrong with our Jazz history at all. Like, our Jazz history is incredible. I've been a huge part of it. You've got people in the fan base who are part of different portions of it. I think if you think about, the younger kids, they don't know the Last Dance age of the Jazz. You've got a lot of people who are growing up who are now making decisions. We had Darren Williams in the practice facility yesterday, and that's their guy. And so I think that era is kind of, it's interesting watching that play out. What I would say is the Jazz brand's definitely a trickier one than probably many in the NBA. If you look at Boston or Chicago or San Antonio, these are very different than coming from New Orleans, having a name, the Jazz. I'll never forget my first I don't know what it was, my first preseason games, one of the GMs from the Pelicans came up and said, "Hey, can we have that name back?" I was like, I didn't know what to say. I was like, "Well, we're coming in that hot." I was like, "I'll tell you what, you guys have the Saints. That's probably more appropriate here. Why don't we just do a swap because you're in the same ownership group and we can talk about draft picks later, right?" No, that's not happening. So they haven't asked again. And I love the Jazz. I love everything that we're about. I think that our new release that we'd come up with has been something that we've been looking at for a long time, and trying to find something that we authentically own in Utah. And mountain basketball is just it. It's what we are. There's beach basketball. If you go to LA, Miami, like we authentically can own mountain basketball. And I think it's a box that we can color in for a long, long time. And we're excited about that. The purple is something that's tricky, but it's what a lot of people want. They know us as, and the purple in the mountains makes it better. I think the blue coming back also provides a lot of nostalgia for a lot of people in that D. Will Boozer era. So I thought the team did an incredibly good job at rolling that out and, kind of touched all the different pockets or genres of our fan base, because they aren't just one fan base. They're very different genres of folks when they think of the Jazz. And that's awesome. Like that's a lot of teams would die for that kind of loyalty and fan base. And I think it's something that the team did a great job with.
So when you're looking at the Utah NHL logo, and I saw the colors released, the black and the powder blue, and you talk about the entities that you've purchased with RSL. Do you try with logoing or coloring or scheme, or do you try to intertwine them at all, Ryan, or do you just leave each entity separate with its branding and interests?
Well, historically, if I was trying, I hadn't done a good job at it, and that was probably on me. I mean, we haven't had a Pittsburgh city where everyone's yellow and black. Although there's power in that, but it's hard. Like I actually really enjoy the design and everything that RSL and the Royals. I mean, there's kind of a yellow theme that ties them all together. One's yellow and blue, one's violet, and that claret or that red, whatever. The name of it, the way it's come up is, and I think that with hockey, because we have a clean slate, we definitely want it to have its own identity, but there's a lot of people working on saying, hey, if there was a Venn diagram, like what's the overlap, where Utah kind of there's Easter eggs and stuff buried through without. I think that would be really unique. And once again, we have a chance to be able to do that from the beginning, which is really an amazing opportunity.
Ryan Smith joining us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, owner of the Jazz, Real Salt Lake, as well as the new NHL hockey team here in Utah. Ryan, when you look at this offseason for the Utah Jazz, obviously there's a lot of question marks in terms of, is this team going to take a next step? How aggressive? Danny Ainge said big game hunting in the postseason press conference. But when you go big game hunting, sometimes there's big game available and sometimes there's not. Obviously you want to be aggressive. You want to see this team improve. What are the odds, or what are the chances you guys are going to be able to land something that you feel like can take your team to a next step and maybe push for a playoff spot next season?
Yeah, I mean, you're watching. It's hard to not watch last night and the game and see Danny's hands all over everything that's been done in Boston, and just those pieces that really matter. And you don't. From my perspective, it's in my position, you really don't bring Danny Ainge in and not let Danny Ainge do Danny Ainge things. So I try to stay at. I mean, I'm involved in all of the details around the team, but when it comes to basketball personnel and how we do it, I mean, I have my desire. I'm a competitive guy. I want to win, I want to win now and want to win always and want to, have that goal for, our franchise to be able to do something we haven't done, which is win a championship. And, it's really, really important to me. And I'm going to be doing this for 30 years. That's at least what I told Ashley. I said, hey, this is a 30-year calling, right? And so we're doing it for 30 years. And so our goal is to win a championship. And so, we're super fortunate to have Danny. He's the GOAT in my mind. If you look at, I think there's three people who have a winning percentage in playing, coaching, and being a GM in all of NBA history. And he chose to be here in Utah. And so he's got Justin there, who's back and incredibly, it's an amazing story with Jay-Z back at the hand. And I'm just here to support him. And so, my job is to always put the best people around and kind of get out of the way and be a partner. And so if there's someone available or people available that's going to help us improve and get closer to that, Danny and Justin are not going to not see it. I mean, a lot of the calls are coming through Utah, obviously, because of where we sit. And I think that, people want to play for Will, and that's apparent. And I think we got a lot of young talent. So lining all that up, given there's a marketplace, which is a unique thing, like in tech, you can just go out and get whoever you want at any time, and there's really no rules, and you can go globally. I think soccer is a little bit, more that way as well. Hockey, as we jump into it, is very much like probably what the NBA was in the 90s. And this new NBA with short contracts, most teams are, with a lack of free agency, are looking to make deals with either picks or other things. And so that's really what it takes right now. And JC and Danny are way better explaining that than we are. But if you just look out, that's kind of the trend that's going with the CBA, and especially the new CBA. It's very different. Getting into hockey, as we're kind of going into this hockey, first off season coming up. I mean, it's almost back in the John and Carl days where, you've got 19 and 20, 21-year-old kids, 22, and they're signing 7 to 8 year deals, which is pretty incredible. And so, that's a different shift than where we're at in the NBA right now.
This is a massive draft with lots of assets and an opportunity for Utah NHL to advance. And speak about leaning on somebody. That's got to be all it's about coming up in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. It's unique because we come back on the 26th here. I think we're in New York for NHL meetings, and then come back right into the NBA draft, day 1, day 2, and then directly down to the Sphere in Vegas for the NHL draft. And that's in a 4-day period, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. So we'll be having multiple draft parties at the arena for everyone. But I think it's exciting. And I hope, our community gets accustomed to, we got the 6th pick in the NHL draft, and, I'm hoping everyone is doing their research and got their bingo cards out and saying, hey, who are the folks that are in there? But there's going to be a long education process here in Salt Lake, and that's incredible, though. I mean, it's an incredible opportunity. So, the teams are eerily similar, and, there does have to be a lot of trust in Bill and Coach Bear. Bear just got back from, the World Cup with Team Canada, assisting John Cooper from Tampa Bay. And
wow,
it's exciting. These guys are fired up. I don't think people understand where hockey's at right now quite yet. And I think I'm super excited for our community to see that. I mean, what's happening in the NHL, what they're experiencing in the playoffs. It's been incredible. And there's a lot of momentum around the NHL right now.
Ryan Smith joining us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. When it comes to the new facility that you're going to build down in where Hans and I are right now broadcasting live, we're down here in Sandy and this location, again, learning about the sport, learning about what needs to happen, a lot of that with facilities as well. Are you just essentially saying, hey, look, I don't know what it needs to look like, but I do want it to be state of the art. Just go out and build me something special. What's that process like for you when you're learning about this sport and learning what it takes to be successful, but also needing to provide the facilities necessary for that to happen?
It's part of this deal where, the practice component is very different. Our players definitely will live by where they practice. That's the lab. Unique to a little bit of the NBA, and I actually think it should be definitely considered. The hockey practice and NHL practice facilities are very much community-oriented places. So, it's not going to be a thing where you walk into the Jazz practice facility and Lowry and JC and Colin and Keontae are playing on the court next to you. That's incredibly common if you're going to go play rec or junior hockey, that you've got NHL players right there next to you on the ice with two sheets back to back. And so what we're doing is really starting the initial phases of an infrastructure to build ice sheets where this becomes something in the community. I mean, people are playing hockey and using ice time, trying to get ice time at 5 a.m. and at 1 in the morning right now in this state. And the ability to kind of set up a hub and say, hey, when the team's on the road, you're on the ice. And this is the beauty where, the players' locker room next to it has junior locker rooms. So junior hockey is a big, big component. And probably the way to explain it to people is it's the equivalent of having like the junior Jazz hub with courts right next to the Jazz or inside the Jazz practice facility. Wow. And this is an incredible, incredible opportunity that people will realize as we start to do this, because the demands here, we're the youngest state. Sports is something that kind of ties everything together here. And people actually want to get out and do stuff here, and families and siblings. And it's actually going to be this moment where, you're skating there, and when you're not skating, you're just sitting there watching practice. I walked into Chicago Blackhawks facility. I'm looking at their ice, and there's a whole restaurant. Everyone's just sitting there watching people skate and hanging out, and work parties can go rent it out. It's like nothing I've ever seen. And part of me is like, why aren't we making that more inclusive on the basketball side as well? We're kind of parked off, and privacy is a component, but building a culture of, hey, we're truly about the community and kind of creating something new. And so I'm excited to kind of bring that new thought in community aspect to our state.
Ryan, last thing from me, and just quickly before we let you go, how incredible is it for you to watch what's happening with BYU basketball? And I know a lot of people think that you're probably a massive part, but how much do you get involved as we see kind of the growth in the building and what BYU basketball is becoming? And I'm getting a little bit worried, Ryan, because I do call the football games, and it's like, wow. I mean, the basketball has taken over every storyline, but what does that mean to you?
Well, so KY, I mean, it's incredible that he chose BYU because, he would definitely, after we've seen the movement in the NBA, would definitely be in a head coaching job. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of questions on how involved I get. I mean, also, I think there's probably a lot of misconceptions around, why I'm involved. And, in 1978 or 1980, I was born in Eugene, Oregon. I was actually born in the same hospital as DA. And we're both there in Eugene. And my father was a professor at University of Oregon. They lived in my siblings were born in Pennsylvania and State College, Penn State, and then he moved to Oregon. And Oregon had, what ended up being this business professorship that 2 Nobel Prize winners came out. It was a little bit of the Mecca then, but it was also probably the Grateful Dead capital at that point as well. So it was a very different culture. To go from U of O to BYU, to say it was probably a culture shock is an understatement. But my parents, probably similar to KY, they decided that this is probably best for the kids and the family right now. And they took a bet on going to BYU. And so, all 5 of us kind of came out here, and I was having this conversation with someone yesterday where, as I kind of go through my childhood, I grew up kind of roaming those halls of BYU and being there. And the more I've gotten older, the more I've realized that as life happened, my parents split up. I think my dad took a year off to kind of be with us kids because we were at a different phase of life, and it was a very critical one. And BYU kind of supported him through that. And, you fast forward, 10 years after that, and my dad gets stage 4 throat cancer, and BYU supports him all the way through that, include kind of working from home, resting, keeping everything there. And, we ended up starting Qualtrics together. And it was really in that moment where I was kind of just spending time with my dad. And then, I wasn't the type that would go to BYU. It was probably, I never viewed myself as a BYU student type kid, whatever that was, but the profile wasn't me, especially growing up. And then as I went on my mission, I came back and said, I want to go to BYU. And that was, and I had to I went to UVU first, but I wanted to go to BYU, and I had no college experience nor qualified to get in, and had to go prove myself. And I got there and then met my wife and started Qualtrics, and kind of the rest is history. So me supporting BYU is very, very not about sports. It's about, they supported my family when we were going through our craziest times, like probably no employer I've ever seen. And it would be really weird for me to be in the spot I'm in and not support them, especially, and this is probably a call out to anyone listening who's an alumni of any university and academia, and including athletics, they all need their alumni right now more than they've ever needed this. Sorting out this world, not only on the academic side and everything that's going on and the disruption that's happening in their space, but sorting out the sports side and everything else. If you're an alumni of the U, and call Taylor Randall right now and just say, I want to help. Especially if you're like me, where when I needed that school, they helped me, and they all need everyone. If you're at Weber, we're working out a kid today from Weber, and, I saw the whole Weber team there, and I sent a text to one of my friends, Justin Nielsen, if you remember, played at UVU, played at Weber, and I said, dude, your crew's here. Go support your Weber. They need you, right? And it's everyone needs to do that in this moment, and it's because there was, especially if you needed them at some point, well, now's the time that they all need you. Yeah. And so that's probably a little PSA for everyone, but I think I encourage it. I love when my youth friends are 100% in on the youths. It makes our state better, especially here. We need everything to thrive, and it doesn't take much. There's powers in numbers, and so that's my reasoning for why I try to help. And so BYU knows that they've got my help if I can be helpful. And there's a lot I can't be helpful on, but if I can be helpful, I will. And I'm not joking. I'm going to pull this up right now because I think a lot of times you can say stuff and people understand it, but sometimes just visually seeing it, we're learners that way as well. To understand what it actually means for our downtown. On the 2nd, there's a concert. On the 3rd, there's a concert. On the 4th, it's NBA preseason. On the 5th, it's UFC. Hans, you better be there.
Bring in the fighting crew.
I'll figure something. I'll figure something out for you there. On the 6th, it's NHL preseason. On the 7th, it's NBA preseason. On the 8th, it's NHL. On the 9th, we're blank. On the 10th, it's NHL. On the 11th, it's a concert. On the 12th, it's NHL. On the 13th, there's a concert. On the 14th, it's blank. On the 15th, there's NBA preseason. And on the 16th, there's NHL.
Wow.
So I hope, like, the gravity of what's coming in and the excitement it should be around that and curating that experience and trying to say, hey, how do we accommodate in our city that type of flow?
Ryan Smith, if you want to hear that interview in its entirety, go to KSLSports.com. You can click on the podcast page. Yeah, well, about 8 minutes more. Yeah.
How cool is that the owner of several professional sports franchises in here would spend 40 minutes.
Pretty cool.
On local sports talk radio talking to you, the fan.
Well, appreciate him joining Hans and Scotty today and being able to dip in and talk about all those things. I thought it was really cool. The amount of just like, not just community like Salt Lake City, but like Utah community that he and Ashley are trying to figure out for. I mean, it's awesome. We called it a 30-year calling, right? This is the way we're spending the next 30 years, right? This is what we're doing. And we all get to be along for that ride because they are taking those shots and taking those chances. So it's pretty darn cool. All right, we'll take the break here. We'll come back. We've got our NFL Blitz around the corner. We also have our best and worst. You don't want to miss any of that stuff. So all the things that we're going to bring to you on our normal Fridays, on our normal fun Fridays, when we realize we're a little bit late here, but we would be remiss if we did not chat for 1 minute or two with Maria Twitchell, who's the executive director of Visit Cedar City. We've been talking about Cedar City. We've been talking about Southern Utah. We've been talking about the Utah Summer Games, of course, that are happening down there in Cedar City. Maria, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk a little bit about what goes on in Cedar City. I'm one of those people who is in Southern Utah quite often. I find myself in Brian Head skiing every year. I try not to tell people about it too much because I love how, first of all, I've got a lot of kids too. And so you know where I'm going with this. It is inexpensive for kids to go ski. It's free, I think, 10 and under or 12 and under. Either way, bottom line is I know what's awesome down there. Visit Cedar City is much more than just about driving on your way through to St. George.
Yeah, we are totally a destination that you guys really want to check out. I mean, we're called Festival City for a reason, and it's because there's so much going on. I mean, we've got Utah Summer Games going on, but there's just tons of things always happening, like in the summertime. And, they're always family friendly, but they're always, lots of good stuff to, spend the day, get off the interstate. We're also, 10 degrees cooler than most of southern Utah. So, you're going to have, it's going to be pleasant. But, yeah, we've got lots going on. We've got lots of festivals going on. Even this weekend, there's more going on with with Summer Games competition. But we also have, the Paiute Restoration Gathering. We've got a car show going on. It's just every weekend there's going to be something that you can, bring your family to.
And of course, those are cool events. But I think obviously you got to brag about the fact that you have access to some of the most beautiful national parks in the world.
Yeah, I mean, we're called Gateway to the National Parks for a reason. I mean, Bryce Canyon's just 90 minutes. The northern part of Zion is only 20 minutes from here. Cedar Breaks, which is at 10,000 feet elevation, so you're going to be really cool up there, is just 29 minutes. So, it's easy to base out of Cedar City and just head on out into the national parks, come back at night, enjoy some really good food, some great entertainment, some sort of festival. Even you can take your wife out to the Utah Shakespeare Festival, win some points that way. So there's just a lot going on.
Maria Twitchell, Visit Cedar City is, of course, a partner that we've had on KSL Sports this year, and we really love being able to chat with you guys and talk about how great our state is, and also the Utah Summer Games every year in Cedar City and bringing that in there. And so, Maria, we appreciate you joining us, and we'll chat with you guys again. Thanks for being on the program.
Thank you.
There you go, Maria Twitchell. Yeah, they probably don't love it that I say, hey, I try not to tell as many people about Brian Head as well. But I preach the skiing of going down there and then going to Brian Head, man. It's awesome.
Cedar City is way underrated.
And Cedar City's super underrated.
It's a great college town.
Yes.
And like we mentioned, it's close access to the parks, and there's so much to do down there. And, yeah, if you don't like the heat in the summer, guess what? It's not as hot as
That's exactly right.
the other city down there.
Come on. All right. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got our NFL Blitz around the corner. Stay with us, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing. When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex. Presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Final segment of the day on a fun Friday. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen, thanks for being with us today, everybody. Let me see here. Hey, I've got a little college football something for you, JJ.
Sweet. I'm all in.
So I always forget who's who now because I can't remember who the athletic director is at Nebraska now. What's this cat's name?
Guy from Washington.
He just took the gig, yeah, and it's fine. Yeah, but it's funny when other athletic directors, and it's like they're trying to tell on other athletic departments, and I'm like, and they're not telling on them. I think what they're really doing in the age of NIL, like for example, he rolled out, what does it say? Oh yeah, athletic director from Nebraska says. Ohio State and Oregon both had NIL budgets for their football teams north of $23 million. And I think the point of saying that is to be like, isn't that awful? And the reality is all they're doing is telling on themselves a little bit by saying, we're not there. They're sort of asking their fan base to show up, right? That is an insane number, though, right? I mean, we're talking 88 scholarships, or 85, whatever the number is now. $23 million would go a long way.
Welcome to college football in the year 2024. And Troy Dannon knows that. And he's at Nebraska now. And that's a program
that's a blue blood program.
Used to be, when I was a kid, they were dominated. I mean, they won back-to-back championships when I was a teenager.
One of the blue bloods. Tom Osborne is college football.
Yeah. So
right there.
People in Nebraska want to return to that era. They want to come back to that. And what are you going to have to do in 2024 to do that? You're going to have to pay for it. And so I think Troy Dannon knows that, and I think he's trying to inspire and get people to donate to the program. But maybe he's also making excuses because something's off with them.
Can you believe that?
Why is Nebraska struggling?
I know. The problem is, and I get it, they're trying to make a turnaround, and so they're trying to improve. I get it that just having money doesn't equate. I mean, ask Ohio State. It doesn't mean you're going to be a champion. Doesn't even mean you're going to be your
Texas
conference
A&M.
champion. Oh my goodness! I mean, that's years of the study of watching Texas A&M flounder with all the money that they could ever handle coming in from boosters. So I get it, but $23 million. I'm just trying to imagine. I mean, that's $300,000 a kid. If you were to just split it evenly across those the scholarship kids. It's crazy.
Look what Utah's able to do right now.
Yes.
I mean, we know some numbers on a certain player on the team, and they're in the seven-figure area. So that's what it's going to take to compete. If you want to have a quarterback that's one of the best in the Big 12, you're probably going to have to come up with seven figures for him. That's just the new reality. This is what it takes to compete at the highest level of college football. It's the haves and the have-nots, and It's just funny that Nebraska's claiming to be a have-not. This makes me laugh.
Yeah, it's bonkers.
Wah.
By the way, there's no sports in Nebraska except for Nebraska football.
Exactly.
And if you've ever been to Memorial Stadium, it is an insane place, and people are in love with. That's 95,000 people at that stadium on a Saturday, and they are willing to pay. So the question is are they going to? And can Nebraska figure out a way to equate that into wins? We'll see. All right, we'll take the break there. We'll be back on Monday. Ooh, our Bonneville Golf Classic is coming up on Monday.
Nice. We're going to get some sun, hopefully.
That's right.
Remember last year?
Every year. We seem to get
How weird
some
is
weather.
that?
We seem to get weather. All right. We'll take the break here. So for JJ, I'm Alex. We'll talk to you next time, everybody. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing. When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex. Presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Final segment of the day on a fun Friday. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen, thanks for being with us today, everybody. Let me see here. Hey, I've got a little college football something for you, JJ.
Sweet. I'm all in.
So I always forget who's who now because I can't remember who the athletic director is at Nebraska now. What's this cat's name?
He's guy from Washington.
He just took the gig, yeah, and it's fine. Yeah, but it's funny when other athletic directors, and it's like they're trying to tell on other athletic departments, and I'm like. And they're not telling on him. I think what they're really doing in the age of NIL, like for example, he rolled out, what does it say? Oh yeah, athletic director from Nebraska says, Ohio State and Oregon both had NIL budgets for their football teams north of $23 million. And I think the point of saying that is to be like, isn't that awful? And the reality is all they're doing is telling on themselves a little bit by saying, we're not there. They're sort of asking their fan base to show up, right? That is an insane number, though, right? I mean, we're talking 88 scholarships, or 85, whatever the number is now. $23 million would go a long way.
Welcome to college football in the year 2024. And Troy Dannon knows that. And he's at Nebraska now. And that's a program
It's a blue blood program.
Used to be, when I was a kid, they were dominated. I mean, they won back-to-back championships when I was a teenager.
One of the blue bloods. Tom Osborne is college football.
Yeah. So
right there.
People in Nebraska want to return to that era. They want to come back to that. And what are you going to have to do in 2024 to do that? You're going to have to pay for it. And so I think Troy Dannon knows that, and I think he's trying to inspire and get people to donate to the program. But maybe he's also making excuses because something's off with them.
Can you
right?
believe that?
Why is Nebraska struggling?
I know. The problem is, and I get it, they're trying to make a turnaround, and so they're trying to improve. I get it that just having money doesn't equate. I mean, ask Ohio State. You know, it doesn't mean you're going to be a champion. Doesn't even mean you're going to be your
Texas
conference
A&M.
champion. Oh my goodness! I mean, that's years of the study of watching Texas A&M flounder with all the money that they could ever handle coming in from boosters. So I get it, but $23 million. I'm just trying to imagine. I mean, that's $300,000 a kid. If you were to just split it evenly across those the scholarship kids, it's crazy.
Look what Utah's able to do right now.
Yes,
I mean, we know some numbers on a certain player on the team, and they're in the seven-figure area. So that's what it's going to take to compete. If you want to have a quarterback that's one of the best in the Big 12, you're probably going to have to come up with seven figures for him. That's just the new reality. This is what it takes to compete at the highest level of college football. It's the haves and the have-nots, and it's just funny that Nebraska's claiming to be a have-not. This makes me laugh.
Yeah, it's bonkers.
Wah.
By the way, there's no sports in Nebraska except for Nebraska football.
Exactly.
And if you've ever been to Memorial Stadium, it is an insane place, and people are in love with. That's 95,000 people at that stadium on a Saturday, and they are willing to pay. So The question is are they going to? And can Nebraska figure out a way to equate that into wins? We'll see. All right. We'll be back on Monday. Ooh, our Bonneville Golf Classic is coming up on Monday.
Nice. We're going to get some sun, hopefully.
That's right.
Remember last year?
Every year we seem to get
How weird
some
is
weather.
that?
We seem to get weather. All right. We'll take the break here. So for JJ, I'm Alex. We'll talk to you next time, everybody. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.